Say, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell me a story?
I think I will. What story would you like to hear?
One of the old ones.
Okay. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Lady Ahsoka Tano was on her way to go to the planet Peridia. In a neighboring galaxy that we all know and love. Sabine Wren was taken, and it's up to Ahsoka to get her back and stop the return of one Grand Admiral Thrawn. And that is what we are here to talk about. Episodes 6, 7, and 8 of Ahsoka here on Fake Nerds Watch. I am Ben Magnet. Of course, that is Sparkz Witty. And
Yes.
we are also here with our best bro in the world, Ryan Eliopoulos.
Hello. I was about to do something Thrawny, but I lost it. I'm glad to be here, Ben.
Thrawn, now I want to do something Thrawny. It's like, just it's Lars Mikkelsen, right?
Yeah. Mads' elder brother.
Yeah, he's just like so why yes, of course. Just that sultry tone. I was like, we shall take down Lady Ahsoka Tano, and if we lose the mercenaries along the way, those are acceptable losses.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't had a drink of water and he's kind of parched all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's like, I'm really thirsty.
All right.
Like,
so as Ben alluded to, we're talking about episodes 6, 7, and 8 of Ahsoka. That is part 6, Far, Far Away, which is directed by Jennifer Getzinger. Part 7, Dreams and Madness, directed by Gita Vasan Patel. And part 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, directed by Rick Famuyiwa, with all of these written by Dave Filoni.
One-man army, Dave Filoni.
And we are going to get into all the Ahsoka finale stuff. So let's...
We are saying to Brandon T. McClure, if you are watching this, just so you guys know.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Or listening. And Brandon is not here. I think I won't say let's go episode by episode, but let's try and keep 6 and 7, I think.
Sure.
To some amount of a section, and then we'll get into like all those finale thoughts.
Yeah, don't talk about any of the zombie stuff until the end. We don't need to be talking about all the stuff that happened at the end right now.
Yeah. So
guys, zombies.
Let's pick up at the 6 and 7 stuff, which is like, we got our introduction of Thrawn. We've been out for a while, so we finally got to see Thrawn.
Yep, got Ezra.
We got the reunion with Ezra, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into just some broad thoughts on just those. Try and ignore the finale. Think about just what you felt when we had 6 and 7 under the belt.
I was vibing. I loved it. I liked 6. 7 is my favorite episode. I think it's the strongest episode. And I think it's the best directed episode, just because I think the director is really talented and I really like them. But I think the action choreography in 7 was the best. But I really liked once we got to Peridia. When we first were introduced to Thrawn, y'all, we are Rebels heads, we're Thrawn boys. So like we know what we were getting ourselves into. The question I want to ask is really, actually, let me get your initial thoughts before I start jumping into stuff. Sorry.
Sure.
I like the episodes quite a bit.
I also really, really, really enjoy the show. I enjoy this, like as a whole. I really enjoy it. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
For me, the odd part is that I know the show is called Ahsoka, but I feel this is Rebels Part 2. Or like this is the sequel to Rebels that people have been wanting. It just Ahsoka's thrown in there. But the stuff with Ahsoka is fantastic. And I really think it's weird. Filoni found a way to do like a really nice happy medium where you care about Ahsoka, but you also really care about all the other characters. And take a shot every time I've said this throughout this entire Fake Nerds watch of this series. I am so happy I finished all of Rebels before I watched the show. I am so happy that you guys bullied me into watching that show, because everything that happened, like seeing Thrawn's return, was so much more impactful. And I think that if I had seen Thrawn come back, or if I had seen Thrawn and not watched all Rebels, I would be like, who's this guy?
Sure.
Why is he? It's like, why is he so? It's like, why is he so like everyone cares about it? It's like, oh no, Thrawn's coming back. It's like, who's Thrawn? Now I know. It's like, and because I know since I watched Rebels, it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to sit on this for too long because we've already talked about it a bit in the previous episodes. And there's a lot else I'd rather focus on in the discussion today. But like, I don't think specifically in terms of for these episodes. Well, I echo a lot of what you were saying about episode 7, even though on paper I don't think as much happens.
Yeah.
I do think it's one of the stronger
direct
episodes
compared to like the finale's direction. 7 was like a different show in my opinion.
And I think that's really solid. Thrawn's entrance for me was perfect, and Thrawn's entrance, as I say that, I think I completely recognize that I don't think it landed the way it needed to for everyone who isn't familiar with the character. I don't need him to be really impressive or anything in this because I know him, and like I thought like the way the orchestra came in, the way the shot was built up, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, this works, because to me it's the return of Thrawn. But for a lot of people,
I would say most people,
this was the reveal of Thrawn. And I don't think it had the punch, and I was nervous that like after episode 6, I like him a lot more in episode 7, but at episode 6 I was like, I don't know that they gave him enough opportunity to leave the impression that he needed to.
That's the question I wanted to ask, because this is, I feel, a similar problem we have with Kingpin in the Hawkeye show.
Right.
This is a character who he's the big bad. You know, everyone knows how bad this is, and then he comes in and he's kind of like a pushover.
If you watch Daredevil, it means a lot in Hawkeye, but if you didn't, then it doesn't mean as
so
much.
I want to bring this up because yes, we're all Rebels fans and we know what Thrawn is capable of. I don't think the plot of the show is Thrawn has to escape with a bunch of caskets, and that just doesn't feel like a big threat. And like it is, because Thrawn is the threat himself. But the entire plot of him being stuck here, it kind of like, it feels like, not to me, but like for a lot of people, it undermines like, this is a dude who's been trapped for like 10 years. He can't even kill the Jedi. He's there. He gets easily thwarted all 3 episodes of this. Every time he has a plan, he gets thwarted. So like, he's supposed to be our big bad, but he gets beat so hard multiple times in this finale, despite him getting away. You know what I mean? Like, so I understand there's a lot of people who don't think Thrawn is a threat right now. They don't think he's scary. A lot of people online are like, he's just like a bad guy with bad blue makeup. And I see that. I recognize that. And I really wish people could have watched Rebels to know, like, there is more to this guy. Like, it is the thing of like every single one of these shows introduces their villain in like the last act. And like, and some of them work really well and some of them don't. This is the situation where I think having previous knowledge more than any other experience, it really helps with this show. Because otherwise he gets beat this entire 3 episodes. Every time he has a plan, he's like, all right, next plan. Again, that's what he's really smart at planning things, but all of his plans fail. So it's hard for me to see the future where, oh, he is this grand mastermind when he got beat this easily.
I really think they tried to play an angle of him knowing that everything he was throwing was a loss.
Yeah.
And he was just like the whole turn on end of episode 7 where he's like, I just needed them to lose time.
Yeah.
I just needed them focused over there.
But here's the thing, like, episode 7 ends with she lost the one thing she had, time, and then the next episode she's there. So she didn't really lose any time.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Well, I mean, like, you know, they're still right on the cusp of getting away instead of like, we still gotta load 25% of the cargo, like we can't go yet kind of situation. I hear you.
Yeah.
That was me speaking to what intent was, not execution.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, again, only thinking about episode 6 and 7.
Yeah.
When it got to the end of 7, I was like, all right. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm fine with him having thrown all that shit around just to be like, yeah, they just wasted time.
Yeah.
Now they're sunk. They can't stop us. I know we're at the victory point.
Yeah.
And I think it's an execution problem.
It's 100%. Yeah. That's the thing for me. Yeah.
The other thing is, and this again bothers me less, but trying to think about it as people who are
new to it,
disconnected from Rebels and all that. I don't think Thrawn should have been name dropped so much in other shows.
Yeah.
Before we got to this point,
it was a huge
I think the first time Ahsoka shows up, it's fine.
Yeah.
The reference with Morgan and everything, because like it's getting us to this point, but like the stuff in Mando last season, boy.
Yeah.
In hindsight, while that was all exciting.
Well, I love the Shadow Council.
Part of my problem with it is that I'm like, there isn't even any clarity on like, and I wish there was, like, is he just lying? That he has no communicate? Like, this is just a hope and a prayer that Thrawn is coming back? because this is before. We know Mando is before. It's not after.
Yeah.
We know this because of Carson.
Yeah.
Because Carson references the events from Mando season 3.
Yeah.
So we know that he's like, yeah, Thrawn's returning from the Outer Rim and all this, and I'm like, is it just all bullshit? And that sucks because that feels like that's just there to have queued people up for Ahsoka, and I think that was a misstep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We gave too much oxygen in that Mando finale to Thrawn for it to be like, yeah, they actually haven't talked to him at all.
Yeah. And I do like, I do like Morgan. I think Morgan Elsbeth is a cool character. I like, we get introduced to like witches of Dathomir, which is so cool. Like I never thought like, I'm sure we would see them one day in the future, but not in Ahsoka in a distant galaxy. I think that's pretty cool. I know some people have problems with their makeup. I'm all for it. I'd rather them look like kooky witches than like try to do something that doesn't look like what they're supposed to look like. I'd rather them lean into it than not lean into it.
Yeah.
Did you, Ben? Because I know you didn't watch a lot of Clone Wars, and Rebels. There's not much of that Dathomir stuff. So how do you feel about cool green Force witch magic?
Oh, I'm all for it.
Hell yeah.
I look. Whenever they like when the Night Sisters or the Great Night Mothers, when they showed up, and I'm like, oh. This is some cool shit. And with the creepy green Force magic and all the stuff that they can do, this is Star Wars. I just accept it. I'm just like, we have people with laser swords and they can move stuff with their mind and they can do so many cool things. It's space magic. I just don't care. I am rolling with this. I don't need it explained. I don't need it all it's like, oh, it's the Force, but it's not the Force. They're tapped into the party. I don't need any of that explained. It's just like, the weird space magic shit is going down. I'm for it. I'm just gonna roll with it.
When our last episode, I did some like speculation of like, we're going to an entirely new galaxy. Like the rules could be different, and it turns out it's pretty much just another Star Wars galaxy, to be honest. But what I did like was they did introduce the Force witch magic, which is new to a lot of people who didn't watch the animated stuff. Sure. So them seeing green crazy magic, turning. Oh, that's episode 8. Never mind. But like seeing what they're doing is really cool. Oh, they're also, I don't know if you noticed, like they're named after the 3 fates from like mythology. Yes. And they have like the 3 the orbs that are supposed to be like their eyes. Like that's fun. There's so much mythology stuff in here. There's so much Lord of the Rings and Narnia throughout this entire thing because Filoni's a big old school head like that.
Yeah, I think I'm really glad that they went this angle of like the Night Sisters and them working with Thrawn. That has me excited. Like again, going into this really feeling confident as I was that season 1 was not a one-off and like we're gonna get more. So it doesn't have to tell me all the story in this one go. I'm stoked for like what the union between Thrawn and these Great Mothers means and like what he's gonna do with Night Sister power behind him. I think that's a really smart connection to make inside the world of Star Wars to put Thrawn with these people. So I really, really am intrigued by that. Going back to Morgan, I don't much care for Morgan's character. Yeah. This is one of my problems with the season.
I think she's a cool thing. I don't think she's a great like depthful character. Yeah, I think she's cool.
Yeah. And part of it is like going back to the point I was making earlier. If we'd had some indication, anything, that Morgan was the person fueling the Empire shit.
Yes.
I was referencing in Mando season 3. Those whispers are coming from her. Yeah. You could say that's implied or like that's a thing that's happening off screen, but they don't state it. So that connection is not there as far as I'm concerned. It has not been established. And there's something to like be more developed about what Morgan's willing to do, what Morgan's willing to foster by having injected that into what's left of the Imperial forces as this idea of like Thrawn is coming back. This is the thing. But what she's chasing isn't Thrawn.
No.
She's after the resurrection of Dathomir.
Yes.
And that's also something that's super underexplored for her personally, for her as a character. I don't think it's there enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I will 100% agree because throughout the show, I thought she was just like the biggest Thrawn fanboy. That's why she's trying so hard to get him back. And then later on in the show, in the episodes, when it's revealed that she just cares more about Dathomir than Thrawn, it's like, do you not know?
I don't hate that because at least shows like more of her character. Like she actually has like her own allegiances.
Oh no,
I there, but she gets there and she spends all her time like staying next to Thrawn's side, being his soundboard for whatever his plans are.
Yeah.
When like if the thing she's there for is actually the resurrection of Dathomir, as it is seemingly said to be, then wouldn't she want to talk way more with the Great Mothers? Wouldn't she want to way more be connecting with them?
And this is that thing where we know a season 2 is coming, where I'm not satisfied when you know a season 2 is coming, because then you have unanswered questions that like you have to wait when they could have been answered in here.
Sure.
That's one of those sticky situations. And like there's 2 characters that we'll talk about who don't even show up in a finale because they're a season 2 character. And I'm like, well, that's shitty. That sucks. But Shin and Balin do show up in 6 and 7, thankfully.
Yeah.
Plenty. Gosh. Ben, you have anything more to say about Morgan?
The Great Witches remind me of the Bene Gesserit from Dune. I'm pretty sure that there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
But like the whole time I saw like when they first showed up, I could just see Ryan pop. Like it was like, Ryan, you were sitting next to me while I was watching this, and you were like, the Bene Gesserit.
Ben, the fact, real quick, that you said the Bene Gesserit from Dune makes me the happiest person alive, because you know what that means now. And I'm just like, wow, that's like the deepest cut of like nerd shit in the world. Like, you know what the Bene Gesserit, dude. You made it. You're here. I love it.
Hey, you had us read Dune before the movie. I really enjoyed that book. I had a great time reading it, and I am just now glad that I am a Dune head. I like Dune. Dune is great.
Hell yeah.
I think this is a note that applies more to episode 6 and 7, so I'll bring it up here. And I know you feel maybe even stronger this way about it than I do. Ezra and Thrawn have not changed enough.
No.
No.
And like, I can kind of accept Ezra's amount of change, although we'll get into how the finale completely like pivots away from it. But the idea that like Ezra's kind of developed a more calm relationship with the Force. Which is even something he was struggling with right up to the end of Rebels. He's much more in tune. And so that it's kind of a cop-out to say like, well, his relationship with the Force has changed, which means like even as he is being plucky and spunky and bringing as much of Ezra as we knew him to the character and not showing a lot of like those years on him.
Yeah.
Clearly things have changed because his relationship with the Force has changed. So you kind of get the cop-out there. But Thrawn is essentially Thrawn from the end of Rebels. No change.
Not at all.
And like I wanted kind of, knowing the character, I wanted someone who felt more dangerous to me.
Yes.
Because he's been pulled away. Because like one of the things is, why does Thrawn even give a shit about the Empire at this point? We were eventually going to get to this point. Yeah.
For the Empire. This is all book shit.
Yeah.
Thrawn is only working for the Empire to help the Chiss Ascendancy.
Right.
So, like, the problem is nobody knows what the hell the Chiss Ascendancy is, because nobody knows who Thrawn is. So this is all stuff that we can talk about, that the show and the movies cannot talk about till they introduce it.
Right.
So there is an exterior threat in Thrawn's unknown regions that is coming to destroy them. He's using the Empire as a scapegoat to help destroy them. Then the Ascendancy will destroy them in the end. It's the old Yuuzhan Vong thing of the Emperor, but it's recontextualized with Thrawn to make it better. But we don't have any of that knowledge yet. So it's all just Thrawn works for the Empire now when he hates them.
And so part of my problem with that is because I know exactly the thing that Ryan just said. And like when you have that context, Thrawn being like, I'm going to go back and rebuild the Empire. And I'm like, you've got the witches. Like, why not just like Dathomir at this point is probably a more powerful force than any Imperial force you could.
All the remnants.
What's left.
Yeah, just a bunch of stormtroopers.
Why are we going back and trying to rebuild the Empire?
I would trade up to zombie witch magic over just stormtroopers any day of the week, especially Thrawn, who's like a scientist, mathematician, and like, who knows.
What Ryan said about the fact that we haven't introduced Thrawn's motives in that way to the shows or films is the reason, but it's not a good enough reason for me to like, and I don't think it's interesting to people who are just meeting Thrawn for the first time that he's just like, yeah, I'm basically to most people, Thrawn is just blue Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
Now coming back to do whatever he can with what's left of the Empire. Also, he kind of has some witchy friendships.
That's the thing I've seen. Real quick, Ben. I've seen on like someone who didn't watch Rebels. Like, to me, Thrawn is just another Moff Tarkin. Like, he is a dude who will probably get beat. And while yes, he did show some tactics in here, all those tactics again got beat. And like, again, our heroes have to win, but it's a type of situation where you're introducing our Thanos villain for the next couple of years. Like, he's gotta be more imposing. Like, I don't need people to die. You know, this isn't a stakes thing, but like, you gotta make me think that he's a bigger threat than like the one Jedi he couldn't kill for 10 years. Like, why? Why were they? I don't know.
I had some hopes when we meet Thrawn and Ezra, who have been stranded on this planet for 10 plus years or however long it's been.
It's over a decade or longer, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very long freaking time. I was kind of hoping to see Thrawn a little bit more unhinged than rather than business as usual. Now, I don't know what Sparkz was referencing to about the ascendancy or whatever, because unfortunately, I'd never read the Timothy Zahn books, and I know that fans are just, the second they said Thrawn was coming Rebels, fans of those books were frothing at the mouth.
It's the second he was announced, that's made me read those books.
Yeah, and because to me, Thrawn is just the guy who not only drinks the Kool-Aid, but makes the Kool-Aid and adds in all the extra spice, because he is like so pro-Empire that he doesn't care about anything else. Part of me was really hoping for him, like when Morgan shows up and she would tell him about what happened, like a quick little overview of what happened the past 10 years, and him like going a little bit more unhinged after hearing that the Emperor is dead, the New Republic has been established, and he's like, oh, this has got 10 times more personal now. I'm ready to F some shit up. Instead, he's just like, okay. And I know we were talking about how he's like sending people, like all of his plans have been failing. I see it more as his main end game goal was to get out, and he did achieve that.
It's true, yeah.
Because we know what. Because the one thing I do like about Thrawn, even in this iteration, is that he is still that master tactician, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to lose some battles, but this is to get out and win my war. And
absolutely, yeah.
Once my main objective has been complete, doesn't matter. That's what shit happens. And was it episode 8 or episode 7 when he asks about who Ahsoka Tano's master was?
No, I think that's episode 8.
Okay, we'll get
no, it's the end of 7.
Episode 7.
It's the end of 7, yeah.
Just like I was hoping for a little bit more throughout that whole thing, but at the same time, still we're getting another season, so we'll get some more stuff there, which cool. But at the same time, I was like, just that his reaction was like, Ahsoka's master was General Anakin Skywalker.
Don't worry, you might not get Thrawn talking about Anakin, but you get plenty of Anakin in the rest of these episodes. Don't worry. They'll keep showing up. I'm
so glad Hayden Christensen's back.
Oh yeah, dude, get that money, dude.
He looks like he is having. So I know this is going way back to our previous FNW, but he's looking like he is having the time of his life, and I am just so happy that we are now at a place where it's like, hey, he is Anakin Skywalker. We love this guy, and I don't know. I'm just happy to see him back, and he's having fun. I'm just happy about that.
Absolutely, yeah. There's that wonderful, like, she's watching the old tapes of his training videos. Like, she has 20 recorded, like, get fit with Anakin, the volume 7. I wonder if Luke watched any of those tapes to see what his dad looked like when he was young.
I don't know. Maybe
all those tapes.
Maybe later on. Sorry, Sparkz, really quick. One more thing, because I talked about Thrawn, about how I was hoping he was a little bit more unhinged. Ezra, I didn't want him to go full, like, hardcore pacifist mode, like full jet monk style, but once again, I was hoping for, like, I don't know what I was hoping for don't get me wrong, when we finally see Ezra back on screen and him and like he's just standing there, I had the dumbest smile on my face because he's back. I loved Ezra Bridger in Rebels.
Yeah,
I don't know, part of me was just hoping for more of a change to Ezra for being away for so long, because as Sparkz, as you mentioned earlier, he has his relationship with the Force is a lot more calmer, and he's much more, I don't want to say non-violent, but he's just more like chill. He's chilled out. I don't know what I would have wanted, but part of me, like, after when we get into an episode 8, it's just like Ezra just seems way, I don't know. It's odd to say about Ezra. Like Thrawn, I was like, yeah, I was hoping for a little more unhinged, a little more, maybe him slaying a little more on the I don't want to say crazy scale, but I'm going to say crazy scale because I can't think of a better word for it. Whereas Ezra, I don't know, maybe someone who truly was at peace, and he's happy to see Sabine. Maybe part of him doesn't want to go back to the galaxy, to the original galaxy, because he's made a life and he's made a home, and he doesn't want to go back to it because once he sees Sabine and she tells him, he's like, I don't want to fight anymore.
He can't leave his little boyfriend. his tiny husband. The Noti are awesome. We'll talk about them shortly.
I love the Noti.
Amon Esfandi, who played Ezra, is some of the most perfect casting for any of these roles I've ever seen. That dude, despite like whatever you want the character to be, I think he emanates Ezra very well. I think that dude is so well casted. He has such an energy. Just like the way he speaks, I'm like, dude, that's a kid growing up, dude. I believe it. I love it.
The actor who plays Ezra, 10 stars. All the props. It's like you are Ezra Mother Effin' Bridger.
I love the pacifist route he went. I kind of wish he would have stuck with that the entire way. He's like, I don't need a lightsaber ever again. And the part, like, and there's so much of Ahsoka telling him it's not about lightsabers to Sabine, and then him not using lightsaber. I wish they kind of just like, there's a lot of lightsaber fights in these last 3 episodes, and I like a lot of them, but like, I kind of wish we kind of would have stuck with the thing you're telling us about these characters.
Yeah, not to get too deep into the finale, but very much when we got to episode 7 and we have an Ezra who refuses to take the lightsaber, says the Force is the only weapon I need.
Absolutely.
I wish we'd gone into the finale with that, because there's just a lot more to mine out of that. The longer a distance you put between that moment and the next time Ezra does choose to pick up a lightsaber means more.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's literally just the top of the next episode is like, yeah, all right, I guess.
And it's a great moment in episode 8, like, which we'll get to, but like, it would have been so cool to see him do like the Mace Windu Clone Wars attack stuff, like for the entire 3 episodes. That would have been awesome.
Or again, not to get too deep into the finale, but like this moment doesn't exist, but I'm saying a moment that could have, where he has to use Sabine's lightsaber.
It's like
in a moment. Because he just can't do anything else in that moment. Yeah. And like, there's just ways to make those choices mean more.
Yes.
And like what Ezra has uncovered out there and what that means for his character mean more.
And
they just like sidestepped it entirely.
He didn't want to take Sabine's lightsaber. I gave that to you. It's yours. And then he immediately just makes a new one. And I'm like, it's just like, I like that moment, but I'm like, man, you could have been an unarmed monk and you would have been so cool. Like the perfect D&D class. That's so cool. Like, it's okay. It's all good.
There were times where I was hoping for Sabine to like, take your lightsaber, this is yours, and then Ezra go, no, it's your lightsaber now, which is kind of like what Hu Yang said at the very beginning of the show, where he said, this is just as much yours lightsaber now, it's not Ezra's anymore, because you've made modifications to it. When I'm like, okay, yeah, I do kind of like how it's Sabine going full circle with her lightsaber training, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, with Ezra at the top of episode 8, where he just builds his new lightsaber, part of me was hoping for a more intense moment that he realizes that I have to get there's nothing I can do, and he accepts that he has been part of this fight for so long, and he doesn't really even realize it, and he has to get back into his old ways again, or not his old ways, but he has to pick up a lightsaber. He has to acknowledge that he doesn't want to fight, or, so just a little more gravitas there. And I don't want to say I don't want to bash Dave Filoni, because I do like what Dave Filoni is doing with these characters. Mm-hmm. It's just that I know after seeing this, it's like there could have been more to mine in there. There could have been more. Now I don't know the stuff behind the scene. I don't know Filoni's process, obviously. But I just feel that there could have been a lot more in there to make. I mean, because I still enjoy these episodes a whole lot. I enjoy this whole show a whole lot. I just feel that it's like, we know there could have been more. Just a little bit more. And we might get it in a later season. I don't know. But as it stands,
it can't be the excuse for everything we talk about, though.
Exactly. Yeah. It can't be the excuse. It can't be the excuse. But it's like, there could have been more. I still like the product we got.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you guys care or need more information about why Ezra and Thrawn didn't do anything in the last 10 years? Do you need more information about why there was no conflict, why Ezra just got away? Thrawn said he sent dudes out, but he never could find them. But like, I feel like
Ezra said that he woke up, which was an interesting beat that we just brushed over. But he woke up the Great Mothers, and then Ezra couldn't go near the place anymore.
But that's not enough. Personally, I need a little more, because like that's a lot of information in one sentence.
And I think like the reality is that like, you needed to create it's I don't relish the situation because you're trying to introduce these characters to someone new, so then having to like not only try and make them approachable with the backstory that you already know other people have from Rebels, but also have to bake in brand new backstory of like what they were doing there and put all that into this show that's supposed to be about Ahsoka at the center of it. And like that's not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely.
So I don't relish that. But like my ultimate point is, no, I agree with you. Like in a storytelling perspective, it doesn't make sense that Ezra and Thrawn seem to like get to their positions and then just wait.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And go in a holding pattern. And like it really feels like it. It feels like they were moved off the board just so that they got on the other side of the original trilogy. And now they're coming back.
Yeah.
I was hoping after we saw Bridger that the opening of the next episode was Thrawn and Ezra arriving to the planet. And then getting separated, Thrawn going, I want Bridger. Like, maybe this is where we see Thrawn's eventual spiral into madness.
He spent 10 years trying to find this guy, went crazy. I think that's a little more interesting.
Yeah. And he could have like, and then you see Ezra befriending the Nodi.
Nodi, yeah.
Yeah. You can see Ezra befriending the Nodi. You can see him training more with the Force. You're getting all the Chirrut vibes from Rogue One.
Absolutely.
And becoming like this Force, like this unarmed Force master, this grand Force master who uses the Force to deflect and instead of to attack. And then you can constantly see Ezra, like it doesn't have to be the whole episode, but it could be like, maybe the first 15 minutes of vignettes of him engaging with Thrawn's forces, slipping away, and Thrawn just ever going deeper and deeper until he meets the grandmothers, and the grandmothers are like, hey, let's focus on our thing and not him. Once again, could have been more.
You're wanting the HBO episode that is either a whole episode dedicated to that time gap or doing flashbacks from the moment that we're in.
Yeah,
I get it. I don't disagree. I think that would have been cool. I think it would have expanded on those characters. I think it would have given the opportunity, like once you meet Ezra and Thrawn in episode 6, that the next episode logically should have been an episode that told us about what's been going on between the two of them over that course of time.
So yes, absolutely. The show is called Ahsoka, yes, but the entire plot is to find Ezra Bridger. So, like, if we're focusing so much on Ezra Bridger, we need to know more about Ezra Bridger.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He is the MacGuffin of the show, but he's also a character. So we need the character to be expanded on upon. And it's not just for people who watch the show, because, again, 99% of people watching the show did not watch Rebels. So, like, you just need to do a little more legroom for people to care about Ezra and like, the Thrawn situation in general.
I think also they do a disservice to Ezra's character to not have Sabine talk about the choice she made with him. And I think the way that they sidestep it so often is really jarring because I think like the answer wouldn't have been that complicated. I can totally accept an Ezra who hears Sabine made this choice that will lead to Thrawn returning to the galaxy and rebuilding the Empire and says, that's okay. I understand.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a thing where like he punishes her for making this choice. But the fact that Sabine just like avoids it endlessly with Ezra,
like multiple episodes where she's just like, oh, I don't know. Like
it wasn't a good choice.
Like this isn't like, oh, I like forgot like to go on an appointment. It's like, no, the worst villain in the world's returning and it's my fault. And we're just gonna sidestep it for the show that it's based on.
I think like the bigger problem I had with it is that it doesn't look good on Sabine because it makes Sabine like, it's like Sabine doesn't care about the choice she made, except in the context of people being upset with her for making it.
Yes.
And like, she's not weighing what it means that she made that choice, not accepting what it means. Like, and it's fine for her to have made that choice. I made this argument last time that like, I think this is a perfectly logical for Sabine in the moment. It makes sense for her character, why she makes the choice and everything like that. And that's fine. But it's a disservice to the character to not let her take on the weight of that decision and like have the other characters around her say like, you know what, you don't need to. Yeah, like that seems to be part of the point. It's so weird because like it's there in the language. Like the very opening of episode 6 is when Hu Yang is talking with Ahsoka and she's saying, if she hadn't made that choice, there'd be no Thrawn, no war. And Hu Yang's like, and no Ezra. And like to make Ahsoka think differently about it. So when she talks to Sabine about it, it is different. But Sabine's not having any of this internal conflict, or at least not in a way where we're like, she's just like, oh, that's like a wacky story, Ezra. I'm just not going to tell you about it. And like, it doesn't work. It makes the character seem superfluous.
Yeah, and that was the biggest problem I had. Like, I expected in episode 8, not a comeuppance, not for her to be punished, but just like, Sabine, you did something that we need to talk about. And like, Ahsoka kind of just forgives her because like, hey, you know, things happen. I'm like, I just like no consequences to anything.
The point being that it's fine for Ezra and Ahsoka to be at a place where they say nothing about the decision you made means that you need to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But Sabine should be in a place where she thinks the decision I made means that I need to feel bad about it because of the things that it can mean. And it should be something that's there. But again, like they just make it seem like the only thing she cares about is what people will think of her, not the fact that like what the ramifications of it actually are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just not Sabine.
Yeah.
That's a confusing choice.
There's some emotional stuff that I needed more out of that character a little bit. You know what I love though, and I got no complaints about, are the Noti. No complaints. Those little crab, lobster, turtle man. Oh my god, a lot of them look practical, beautiful.
They are adorable. They are so cute, and I love them, and I will die for them.
They'll definitely be. You know, did you see the droids that showed up recently at Star Wars Land, Ben?
Yeah, I saw them. Oh, I saw them.
Give me a Noti. Give me a $200 Noti. Someone will buy like a little Grogu. Make it happen. Yeah. Again, like y'all can. The internet can say whatever they want. Yo, man, he was holding hands with that little crab man. Okay, he was holding hands with him for a long time. So I'm just saying, like, what are you gonna do?
Tiny husband.
He's like whoopa whoopa whoopa. You know what they're whooping in those cases, baby. Come on, you know. We got Baylan. We got Shin. They
make a really interesting decision. Just isolating it again, not taking in the finale or anything, but the Baylan's you want the Empire. That's where your ambition
you
is.
Want power.
And my ambition is in a different direction.
Yeah.
And that they're separating over that.
Baylan's probably the most interesting character in the show.
Oh, I don't think that's even. And
it's such, again, like we've said it this entire season, but like Ray Stevenson is such a gift as an actor. He really brought something really cool to this character. And like clearly we were like, is he going to be important for like the next season? Yeah, clearly they were going to do something massive with this character. And it's such a shame that he won't be around, but they have to recast him because like, everything involving this plot is now going to be like about him apparently, like on this planet, which is really interesting. We'll talk about episode 8 stuff, but like mostly the stuff in 6 and 7 are involved with them fighting more. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of good lightsaber fights.
There is, but to touch on Baylan for a hot second, I love how Baylan Skoll isn't a Jedi, but he has Sith. I mean, obviously he has Sith tendencies like the red lightsaber. He uses violence to reach his end goal, but he's not after absolute power. He's after something else. And you're absolutely correct. He is more interesting in that way because like he's talking to Thrawn and he's talking to Morgan. And he's like, you want the Empire, you want all this. I want something completely different. And Thrawn's going to help me with that. Like he sees Thrawn as a mean to his own end, but it's not like absolute power. I don't know if it's like knowledge or a deeper understanding. And I 100% agree. I am so upset that, I mean, obviously he passed away and it hurts because he was amazing as Baylan Skoll. I loved him as Baylan. I know that whoever they're going to recast, that actor is going to do a great job. But I am very bummed that it's no longer Ray Stevenson.
He's so good.
He is.
And this is what he did a lot of episode 7, but like in episode 8, he just kind of like looks into the distance and like looks pensive. He's so good at that. He's got such a good face for looking like stern.
I don't want to pass over what I think is one of the most important things. Again, like things that we like to highlight about Baylan's character when he and Ahsoka clash in episode 7, and he says, "I thought you died," and she said, "Disappointed," and he says, "No." Because he doesn't want Ahsoka dead. This is the whole like thing that's so interesting about this character is that like he's at odds, but he's not that person.
Yeah.
Who's out for these things. He is the most fascinating and interesting character. Yeah, go ahead.
He is to put him in a D&D class, I feel that he is lawful evil.
Yeah.
As in he's willing to do evil things, but he's not willing to just go on an absolute rampage to do.
He's not just a murderer for murderer's sake.
Right. He is like like what Sparkz said, the moment where he and Ahsoka are fighting, and he's happy, where he's not upset to see her alive. He's like, "Yay, you're still here, cool."
And like we don't know how long him and Shin have been around like together. Like, you know, it could have been a year, could have been 15 years since the child. You don't know, but like
she could be his daughter. No one knows.
Absolutely, like they clearly have an incredible bond. But like that bond is so strong, he knows that like his path is not her path, and I think that's really cool. Like, because they could have done something really lame, or like, oh, you know, I thought I was chasing one thing, but it is power that I wanted. I am a villain, and like that's so less interesting. So like having the two go separate is so interesting, because again, they're on the same planet, so they will reconvene eventually.
Yeah,
you know, one through the Force, one through being a mercenary captain or whatever.
I think because there's a lot else to talk about in the finale, we can just talk about where Shin and Hottie end up, because again, it's only a few seconds.
Yeah.
But like that part we can talk about. And I will say that there's been some rumblings about that a scene is missing because of the loss of Ray Stevenson and not being sure where it would go, that we would have opened the episode with the scene we get of Baylan, the shot with the statues and everything. And there would have been a final moment at the end of the episode that was queuing up what that story was going to be in more full, and that they took it off the board because they don't know what they're going to do right now.
That makes sense.
And I suspect that there's a good chance that's very true. So it's tough. It's a tough position, but like it's obviously very exciting to see just in the idea of what Baylan is heading for, that glowing light in the distance that the father is pointing to.
So Ben, you don't need to watch 7 seasons of the Clone Wars to understand this, but you do need to watch like 3 episodes of the Clone Wars. That's all you got to watch. Watch the Mortis arc. Just watch the Mortis arc.
To be perfectly honest, I'm probably just start watching Clone Wars just for shits and giggles, because I have started Clone Wars. I'm not 100% out of Clone Wars, and I have seen some Clone Wars. Now I just want to watch more, just so I can get more Anakin, more Obi-Wan, more Ahsoka, because the people have been like showing around clips online, and I'm just like, you know, I really should have watched this show, because sorry, I'm about to ramble, but because after watching Rebels, it's like I should watch more Clone Wars, and now after watching Ahsoka, I'm like I should definitely watch more Clone Wars, and now it's just like I should just keep watching all this extra Star Wars stuff, because not only is this really good, it's great. It's fantastic, and it brings more context to all these live action bits. And I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper that is like, this is required viewing, because obviously it's not. But it does bring more gravitas to the reveal, like with Sparkz, when he said it a lot earlier, when Thrawn's reveal, like, if people didn't watch Rebels and they see Thrawn for the first time, they're like, who's this blue man? This is weird. Why aren't you in Las Vegas performing with the other blue men? But for all those who did watch Rebels, it's like we're kind of like everything just like puckered up, and we're just like, oh shit.
Just to your point, Ben, I do feel like there are a lot of people who are familiar enough with the stuff who have criticized Ahsoka's use of characters or things like the Mortis gods, things like that, with the like Leo meme of the pointing and like, oh, I know that thing, therefore important. And I'm like, none of these things, I would argue, in the show feel like they're there for the purpose of to make you remember nostalgia kind of thing. They're there because they're the logical connections of how the story's being built out. Yeah. And that these things that have been in shows before are coming back around in an important way. None of them feel like they are the throwaway just reference to visually remind you of something. Like it's very important that the Mortis gods are referenced. Yeah. Tangibly, a representation of the son and the daughter are both now on this planet where the Mortis god statues are. Yeah. And I'm very curious if Baylan, we're going to find out Baylan has a deep connection to the father. Yeah.
Right.
And he's rocking the beard like, oh yeah.
What I love about how Filoni writes his stuff, and this is true in Rebels, and this is true in this show, because, like you said, Sparkz, it's not just it's not the Leo DiCaprio meme where it's like, oh, I know that thing. It's it is that thing, but this thing is important. There is a reason as to why the thing that everyone's pointing to is there, and. I think that's one of Filoni's great strengths as a writer, is because he is able to take those nostalgia bits, those big Star Wars like plot, lore, these really big events, these big ideas, and he's able to put them into his shows, but add meaning to them, add reason to them. It's not there for member berry's sake. It's there because it's important to the story.
Yeah, right. We're at a point in nerd culture where so many things get re-referenced, sequel, legacy, all the stuff that we're like, the Leo meme is very much like that's what people think of fan service. And there is a difference between fan service and just storytelling, which is what this is. It's just continuing the story that Dave Filoni was telling in those other shows. And people who didn't watch those other shows think that's what it is because that's what the internet tells them what it is.
Right.
Like they don't just watch a show and go, oh, this is just the natural progression of a story. Like, oh, it's a thing from the other thing.
But they're like,
yes, that's true.
They only have Anakin in his Clone Wars outfit because they want to make a reference to Clone Wars. And I'm like, no, they were trying to tell you something about Anakin's relationship with Ahsoka.
Yes.
All
that stuff. There's that stuff is there. Like you kind of have to look for it. Like
You
know, it is kind of thing where like like if fans don't want to see it, they're not going to see it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Seeing Hayden Christensen in the Clone Wars outfit was great. Yeah, but at the same time,
the best lightsaber person in this entire show.
This is a big one where just a quick example, like you were referencing earlier with liking the hologram training video. A lot of people felt like that was like, oh, a Hayden Christensen appearance too far, and I'm like, I really feel like the importance of that. I know you heard me react to it because we were listening to the Ringerverse at the same time when this happened, but that as Jomi said on that show, it's there because my reading is she's stopped watching those ever since she lost Anakin. And this is the first time she's watching them again. And that means something. Like, it's not just there for nothing. It's there because, like, for the first time in forever,
she wants to
she's able to connect with Anakin again.
Yeah, she couldn't look at him or see him, but now she's okay with it.
Right.
After her encounter in the Worlds Between, I mean, even though she knows that Luke brought Vader back from the brink, and that in those small moments after Return of the Jedi, I could still see Ahsoka not wanting to go to those recordings because she's like, I fought Vader, I was there, I know what Vader did, and I know that was Anakin, and that her experience in the realm between has her like maybe instead of remembering what Anakin became, remember what Anakin was. And I 100% agree with Sparkz that the Hayden Christensen, like we're seeing the hologram videos, I 100% agree with that. And it's like, yeah, she is finally watching these again because she is now remembering who Anakin was, not what he became.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Let's because there's obviously a lot of thoughts we have about the finale that we want to get to.
One more thing about 6 and 7. There's a little bit of hair stuff.
Yeah.
There's some hair stuff.
No, this is what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, I want to run down some choice moments I know for sure in episode 6 and 7. Let's go to the Hera thing. The council judging her that piece of shit. Who won't leave her alone? Who's definitely a plant, and 100%
and Ozio or whatever. Yeah, with the blue hair.
that guy.
Yeah, trying to get her court-martialed.
This was such a incredible way. And again, people do the Leo meme like, oh, C-3PO shows up. I'm like, yo, Carrie Fisher's dead, y'all. What do you expect? They can't get Leia. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Like, that was not a problem. Like, that's a character who's in this world, tied to these characters. Like, just because a famous character shows up doesn't mean it's fan service. This is Star Wars, y'all. It's not connected.
And also it makes sense that Leia would send 3PO to give the message to Chancellor Organa. It's like, it makes sense.
It's just a message.
It's not like when 3PO showed up, it's not like, oh my God, it's fan service. I'm like, yeah, he's work. 3PO is Leia's droid.
Yes.
Let it just, yes.
100% removed from the loss of Carrie Fisher and not wanting to de-age and their absolute resistance to wanting to recast a young actor, whatever. Would Leia as a character have shown up personally that meeting to give him shit? 100%, absolutely. Yes, she would. But she can also send 3PO. And in a way, it makes her think of him less.
That's the thing. She sends a droid to tell this message. Like, you're not even worth my time, Inazio. You're not even worth my time, shitty.
Yeah,
dude.
It's like, you're not going to include me in a meeting that I should have been made aware of? Well, guess what? Here's my droid to tell you, shut the F up. This was my mission.
That's exactly what I thought.
And I love it. It's very Leia. It's very nice to know where she's involved. It makes it feel, again, like it's still entrenched in the world that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And honestly, I love Anthony Daniels. I'm always happy to see him show up.
100%.
Like, I have no problem with it.
And we wouldn't have got that Chopper joke where he's like, oh, with this droid, and Chopper's like, you want to fucking fight, bro? Carson's like, hold him back.
I have loved people turning that into the two girls and the cat at the dinner table.
That's really good.
Oh God! I just love how the internet has been like that. They took that screenshot of Carson holding Chopper back, and it's like, if you'd have told me that was Chopper on trial for his war crimes, I would have believed it.
Yeah.
I just love how the entire internet has taken Chopper and be like, oh, it's our favorite little war criminal. Bro, and now that he's around Galaxy's Edge, I can only imagine how many times guests at Disneyland would go up to Chopper. It's like, hey, Chopper, commit war crimes recently, and all the actors at Disneyland have to go, ah.
I love it. Yeah, a little murder man. I would love like a one-shot comic of like them putting Chopper on trial for everything he's ever done in the universe, and it's just like a 40 page of like Chopper. You've killed like 20,000 people,
and Chopper is like, and I'll fucking do it again.
I'll do it again. Love it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There have been others who have said just in general, like the scene touching base on Hera and like what's happening with her was also just not needed in the show and a distraction, to which I'll disagree, because by the time we get to the end of the finale, we have Hera reuniting with Ezra, which we'll get into later. Mm-hmm. But you can't have that without us knowing how Hera got out of being arrested.
Being in trouble.
So you have to give us like the beat. And I think it's a fine prologue opening to episode 7.
And it's not like it's 20 minutes long, which takes a long time.
I think it's a fine prologue opening. We get more Mon Mothma, and I love that actor coming back from Andor and episode 3 and all that, getting to do more with her.
Oh, yeah.
I also think that's super important. So I have no qualms with it. I thought it was executed perfectly well for what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And if anything, it's making me believe at least like the people who live in this galaxy are aware that some of them who have fought in the war are like, Thrawn is a threat, and if he comes back, it is a problem.
Yeah,
it's going to be a problem. It shows the it's unfortunate that we have to make the New Republic so goddamn stupid.
Yep.
Because the sequel trilogy has to happen. So we have to make them so stupid.
Yeah.
But we have to make them so stupid.
I feel bad for Mon Mothma because she fought so hard to get where she is, and now she's just like a lame duck president. Like nothing gets done. It's so bad.
Mothma, Leia, even like Hera and Carson. I would say especially Hera, Carson, and Leia. They're just like trying to tell that, try to tell the sense like, look, shit's bad. We really need to do these things, and the Republic Senate is just like, it's fine. We don't have to worry about it. We won. We're sitting pretty. We're happy. Like even I don't know why I thought about this, but it brought me back to an episode of Mando where they were scrapping all the Star Destroyers. They weren't even recycling. They weren't doing anything. They were just like ripping out and taking away every single remnants of the Empire. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm pretty sure that there's some old Republic or there's some rebel soldier, like maybe a captain or lieutenant who became a politician, because that happens sometimes that happens war. Like generals in our own history, generals become presidents, like Ulysses S. Grant. They would see this as like, look, the Empire sucked, but these weapons are valuable. We could still use them. Give them a new coat of paint, take them over, and I don't know why I thought about that. Sorry.
That's what the Republic is doing now.
But in that,
I'm rambling again. Sorry.
In that vein, it doesn't make sense to have a guy sitting there arguing like there is no credible threat that the Empire is returning. When earlier in this show, they lost a base in Corellia.
That's true.
Because they were full of Imperials who were trying to
lost a star, just
one small sect of people, and I'm like, they're so dumb.
Them plus the shit with Gideon, which also they mentioned. That's 2 separate instances of Imperial remnants. 2 is more than enough for me to take this threat seriously, but I'm not a politician.
It's like the Doofenshmirtz meter. It's like, if I had a nickel every time, I had 2 nickels, but it's weird that it happened twice.
There is the reality of like politicians do suck, and when mass atrocities do happen in the real world, nothing does happen, which is true. Look at the world now. It is true, but this is also Star Wars, where we can be a little. Well,
like you got to have a man in the room who's sitting there actively saying like that's not real.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna run down a couple of thoughts from episode 6 and 7 before we move into the finale. This is just a visual thing. The view of the Purgle mouth at the very beginning of episode 6 from inside of it. Yeah, the ship looks like the back of the Millennium Falcon, the way that it's sitting in there.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. The way that we get like the slit through the mouth. I thought that was cool. We referenced it at the very beginning of this episode, the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I thought was kind of cute.
That is cute.
With Hu Yang.
He could potentially be our storyteller. That's cool.
Finding out that the ring around Peridia
is whale.
is a graveyard of whale bones.
That's dope. That was a dope scene.
That was a dope revelation.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's where they go to die.
The It Stinks of Jedi moment, where I thought for sure the Great Mothers were talking about Balin.
Yeah.
Still smelling like Jedi.
Oh,
They're talking about Sabine.
That's right. Yeah. Real quick. You mentioned like episode 7 probably has like the least amount of like plot stuff, but I do think it is the best directed episode.
Yes.
I think the action is good. There's actual like dynamic camera movement. Like it was like going from 7 to 8. It was almost like Whiplash, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when you watch an episode multiple times, which I never do. Holy shit, do I start to notice things that are bad. Oh my God. Episode 7 is the best directed episode. It was so good. That action was so fun. I loved it. I wish Greta could direct all these episodes, but that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Yeah. We learned in episode 6 that Balin seeks what he calls a breaking of the cycle. We also should have talked about this for Balin.
Yeah.
Balin sees the poetry it rhymes loop of Star Wars.
He sees George Lucas
and says, we just do this over and over. I want to find a new beginning, a new way.
That's so fascinating because I'm like, just going off the Mortis stuff, like what are you going to do?
Right.
Like that's so fascinating. Like I am so excited that we will get more into this because I'm really curious, but I'm like, I couldn't even like postulate like what it is. Like I have no idea.
And if some as some have alluded to, because he's referencing like going back to a beginning, he's seeking a beginning. We know the Mangold film is coming around, the Dawn of the Jedi, and that these things might have some language that's tying to each other. Good Lord, I hope so.
Yeah.
If it truly is meant to be what it seems it's meant to be. So we'll have to wait and see what
people have been, and I 100% think it's wrong that Balin is like he's searching for the world between worlds so he can go back in time. I'm like, he's not. I don't think he's doing any of that. I don't think he's gonna go and try to do a time reverse.
No,
I'm gonna stop Palpatine before it happens. I don't think it's that.
Like in a very layman's terms, without getting like into the minutia of how I think they'd actually translate this, a really basic idea that I think they're going for is that Balin wants to reset the balance of the Force.
Yeah.
Like kind of start the whole thing from scratch. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a time thing. I think he just wants to bring the counter back in a way where it's not looping on it.
What if he wants to like destroy the Force?
I've wondered that too.
Like to get like so like everyone's just equal footing. Yeah, because no one should have this power.
Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about Enoch and the Night Troopers, but their designs are sick.
That's legitimately probably my favorite Stormtrooper design.
When we first see Enoch's golden mask face, we were both like, "Whoa!"
That is a black figure. Is that what they call it? Like the Black Series? The Black Series? That is a Black Series figure because I got Amanda behind me.
For sure.
You can't see, but like Enoch is the coolest Stormtrooper I've ever seen. I'm so glad he survived because that's a famous actor. That's a dude who leads The Expanse, the TV show The Expanse. He's a famous actor. So everyone's like, why did you cast this famous actor? And I'm like, this isn't the first time they've done this, y'all. Thankfully, he survived and didn't get phasma. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Or like when oh God, James Bond.
Daniel Craig. That's just a cameo. That's different. That's it.
I know, when Phasma happened, I was like, yeah, Enoch is awesome. I love Enoch. He's
Enoch
cool.
Enoch also has a really great die well. Goodbye to Sabine when he sends her off, and I'm like, man, what if these guys give me an idea they've been through something?
Yeah,
that Thrawn does not.
Absolutely.
Thrawn, I just thought it was cool that Thrawn knew General Balin Skull, like showing his knowledge of like certain people in the Clone Wars, things like that.
Yeah. Real quick, for people who didn't read the books, Thrawn hung out with Anakin once during the Clone Wars, and he saw how mad that dude was. So he immediately, the second he saw Vader and talked to Vader, he recognized it was Anakin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Thrawn, you're so smart. You're a cool dude. You're so good. You're like a detective.
And these are a little bit just like in the order of the episode. So the wolf bat creature thing that
what do they call them? What do they call them? Like howlers. They're awesome.
They're really cool.
They're a mix of practical and CGI. They're riding horses with like fur on them, and then they give them like CGI. Dude, it's incredible. Dude.
They look really great.
They do.
When Balin's asked if he misses the Jedi Order by Shin, he says, "I miss the idea of the Order." Which I also think is an interesting read into his psyche. Going on to stuff from episode 7. Another bonus of having the Hayden, like the virtual training thing. Asajj Ventress's name is finally said in live action.
Oh my God.
Finally.
Yeah. Bro, that's the one character where like, I don't care about canon. Bring her back because she got taken out in a book like a fool.
Yeah,
and she like fell in love with a Jedi. It's awful. It's awful.
I'm never gonna get off my like make an Asajj Ventress video game. You cowards.
I would die. He's my favorite.
Another reason why I want to watch Clone Wars is for more Asajj Ventress love. Because quick little side ramble story. When my fiance and I bought the Star Wars Villainous game and we saw all the villains in that, Asajj Ventress was one of those villains. Sure. And my fiance is like, who's Asajj Ventress? I'm like, oh, she's one of the big bats in the Clone Wars show. And you know how in Villainous they have all these really cool art for the the Disney characters. All of the characters in Asajj's deck are all Clone Wars designs, and I think that's really, really cool. It's not Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen, but I 100% agree with you guys. Bring Asajj Ventress back. Her death is bullshit.
Right. It was really great to hear her name. She's an exceptional. It's so not only to have like a cool lady force wielder in general, because we only have like Ahsoka that we usually reference, but also a like Sith-esque one is really cool, and
she's
the fact that we
baddie.
don't use her more is like crazy.
She is a baddie.
Also, don't know if you guys noticed this. For some reason, Hayden looked better in the Clone Wars armor in this than he did in the like.
I think it's because it was hologram,
something.
so it was able to obscure it a little bit more.
I just felt like it looked more well cut on his body for some reason. Like they just gave him a different cut of it that day, and it looked better.
I didn't notice. I was just flashing back to the first time I saw Asajj in Tartakovsky's Clone Wars series, and I thought she was awesome. And then there's an episode where Asajj and Obi-Wan in Clone Wars, where they had to work together. And I love how she gives Obi-Wan one of her lightsabers and says, I want that back. And Obi-Wan, being the sassy bitch that he is, goes, red's not really my color anyway. I'm like,
that original.
God. Yeah.
We watched some of that like a year ago or so. Man, that shit's the best.
Going back to we said that Baylan is probably the most interesting character of the show. I want to argue that the most valuable person of the show is probably David Tennant's Hu Yang.
Oh, he's so good.
He adds so much to the show.
Absolutely.
By proxy of being a person in the room to have conversations with characters that are like thoughtful, well needed. His banter is really strong. David Tennant's like giving it 110% in voice work. Hu Yang has been such a great character. Just wanted to spotlight that.
True.
Can I talk about a moment real quick in episode 8 that I really loved for some... I don't know wwhy I love this moment. I just do. But when Ezra's back on Ahsoka's ship and he's building his lightsaber, and then Hu Yang hands him the emitter that Kanan had, and he says, I remember when Kanan took the other one, I was there. And they're just like talking about Kanan Jarrus. It's like, who taught you how to build lightsabers? Like Kanan's like, oh yeah, of course. How could I forget about Kanan?
And what's so awesome is, real quick, man, sorry. He calls him Kanan, but then he calls him Caleb, which is his real name. And that's something like I didn't catch the first time I watched it because it happened. It was quick, but I'm like, damn, that's a good little touch. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like that was one of my favorite like emotional moments in the show, was this reference to like, I held on to this in case Kanan ever needed it. And it's exactly what Ezra wanted for his lightsaber, which was also a way to explain the like more narrow designs that we had
too narrow
of Rebels for the emitters, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
But again, like, is also encapsulated in the scene where I'm like, kind of wish Ezra wasn't building a lightsaber right now. Not going to lie to you.
The first thing he does in 10 years is just build a weapon. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Once again, I kind of wish that there was like something happened where Ezra realizes I kind of do need a weapon now, and then he builds his lightsaber. But the moment where him or Ezra and Hu Yang are talking about Kanan just brought a smile to my face. And it's not a major moment, but to me, it was just one of those things where you can tell how old Hu Yang really is.
Right.
Like, he's a 500-plus-year-old droid, and he remembers.
Oh, no, sir.
Oh, he's
so much older.
25,000.
Never mind. That dude just will not die.
He was dropped off by a little blue box.
He was dropped off by the TARDIS. That's canon. That's straight up canon from a book. He has been around since like the dawn of the Jedi.
So it's not true canon. That is in a book in a way where Jedi younglings are talking about where did Hu Yang come from.
Yeah.
And like the most common story they hear about where he came from is he was dropped off by a little blue box.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. I don't care.
In episode 7, we also get, I thought this was just a visually incredible sequence, going back to like well directed on top of that, but like the VFX on this I think are really good. The minefield that they end up in when they are approaching Perdia.
Oh, the whales.
When they come out with the Purgle.
Yeah.
I thought that looked incredible. I was like, we've never seen something like that in Star Wars in like space set up for having a minefield like that. I thought it looked exceptionally good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the second they drop out of hyperspace and you hear the thuds, I'm like, no, Purgle.
And then Hu Yang's like, oh, thank God the whales are taking cover for us. I'm like, Hu Yang, you bastard.
It's like part of the times it's like, Hu Yang, I love you. Other times, Hu Yang, have you been hanging out with Chopper too much?
Yeah, the whales heard Hu Yang. You're like, oh yeah, we're bouncing, bro.
It's like, oh, F you, bro.
Yeah, that was good. And then last notes on episode 7. These are 2 separate beats, but they are both about basically, I think, maybe the best or most like, yes, you've captured the character performance moments from these actors. One is for Rosario Dawson when it's Ahsoka and she's saying to Baylan when he says like, you can't kill me. And she says, perhaps I don't have to.
Yep.
That perhaps I don't have to moment is probably the most that I've been like, holy shit, there's Ahsoka.
Yeah. So
with her.
Ben, you said when in your overall thoughts earlier that you love Ahsoka. You didn't say that when we first started the show.
Right.
So are we all like, do we all like where Ahsoka is now as a character? Because I do.
Yeah,
I'm into it. I like
into
her growth.
I will say I think we've taken like a like in a broad strokes way about the season. I think we kind of took the easy way out of her growth into this, the Gandalf the White esque style. That I don't always love the idea of I encounter thing and thus I am healed.
Yes.
Fully. And I know that's kind of like, but I feel like the Gandalf context like works differently because Gandalf, just the way that Tolkien writes it, there's something more beautiful about the way that transition works and all that kind of stuff. And for Ahsoka, it doesn't have the same like
gravitas.
Things like, oh, I now think differently about Sabine, but only in the context where I won't reference that the way I was thinking before was wrong.
Yes.
Or things like that. Like there's no amount of her like, while she is coming and treating Sabine better now.
There's no acknowledging.
And wanting to be a better master. There's no acknowledgement of her failure before.
That's true. That is true.
And I think that's taking a little bit of an easy way out on Ahsoka. But that's like a way character is written thing. Performance-wise, yes. Like I'm happy with Ahsoka.
Yeah. I love it. I'm glad to hear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thrawn's the other one is for Lars Mikkelsen. I think Thrawn's really slimy confidence that he's outmatched Ahsoka in terms of time. She lost the one thing she couldn't afford to, time.
Yeah.
At the end of episode 7, I also think is like Thrawn's maybe best beat, maybe except for his
the final one
in the finale, which we'll get to.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the last episode, the finale, because I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts here.
So this is
about a lot of things.
I'm so conflicted on this episode because in terms of the story, everything that happens, I love it. I love what they're doing with the troopers and like getting off the planet. It's just all execution for me that I really had a problem this episode, especially watching it multiple times. But sometimes I wish I never do because I focus on things more. But like the direction of this episode is the flattest of the entire season. The choreography is bad. It's just bad. You start noticing things where people are just swinging lightsabers at nothing. Stormtroopers are shooting at nothing. People are spinning around and getting attacked when they shouldn't be. And this is Rick Famuyiwa, who directed Mandalorian finales. Like that dude does good action. I don't know what happened in this finale. For me personally, I loved all the cool things that were happening, but the way that it was executed, I was bored. I was bored.
I'll go to like on paper, one of my problems with the episode is that there's no sense of tension or stakes about the fact that Thrawn is about to take off. Like they are leisurely traveling on the ship. That's on their way to Thrawn, and I'm like, why is this what we're doing?
That's why at the end of episode 7, he's like, you've lost time, and it's like, they're going so slow.
And I'm like, why is this like, and then all of a sudden they have to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
But once they don't have the ship. And I just didn't understand that choice. I felt like you could have just kept the tension high to have Thrawn come out to disable the ship faster because he saw them like getting closer at a higher speed. It just took so much wind out of the tension and stakes for the episode. Mm-hmm. The idea that there is a timetable didn't feel real at the beginning of this episode. Absolutely. In a way that I feel like it needed to. It was a race. And the episode did not feel like a race. And it should have felt like not only a race, but a race that Thrawn had already won.
That's yes. What I needed was an Ozymandias, I did this 35 minutes ago moment. And I don't know how they would have done it in here, but like I did.
But there were ways.
Like obviously, like Thrawn needs to escape, and that's him winning. Yes, you said earlier, Ben, like he does win, and our heroes are trapped here. That is a victory for him. But I feel like he lost 99% of the way there. So it doesn't like yes, he won, but I feel like he won by the skin of his teeth.
To be honest with you, I think the thing would have been, and it would have been hard to like you would have lost certain beats. You would have had to have them leave like behind a hologram message, I think. But the thing is because they get inside of the fortress, right?
Yeah.
Well, by the time they get to the top, the ship's not there. The hyperspace ring isn't there.
Yeah.
he already left.
Yeah, and then there's a hologram.
He's
message.
already been gone.
And that message, the exact same message he gave Ahsoka, could have been on a hologram.
Yeah.
And like, sorry, girl, see you later.
Yeah.
Like that would have been so tight.
You know what it felt like? It felt like at the beginning of this episode where the timetable is there, but it kind of feels like the final act of a video game where you're about to go fight the final boss, but that's the one part where you can get all your side quests done first and then go to the final boss.
Oh, do everything before.
Just-
Yeah.
Just like picture following the characters once they're inside and they're fighting all the night troopers, they're having to deal with Morgan. They're maybe thinking they're hearing like radio commands still come into Morgan from Thrawn. And they're fighting through all that, and they're like, we gotta get there. They finally get to the top, and you've been with them that whole time inside, and you get there at the same moment as them and go, he's already gone. That ship already left.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to get out of there.
I'll even take them running up the stairs and Thrawn is broadcasting the same exact speech. And the second they get up there, boom, they go.
Yeah.
Like any type of tension. Because
Mm-hmm.
but the
time.
challenge of that, and I kind of get the point of it, the challenge of that is that Ezra doesn't go then.
Yes, you need that
And
moment with Sabine.
you wanted Ezra to go.
Yes.
And I get that that's there, and like, how do you do both? But like, from maybe there was no good way to do it, and I do wonder, like, is it really more worthwhile storytelling? I don't know what they're planning to do with Ahsoka and Sabine on this planet going forward.
Yeah.
I'm obviously interested in it, but I don't know what it's going to be, and I'm like, did Ezra need to go or did Ezra need to stay? Which was the better story path to make this Thrawn moment and this timetable thing feel like it landed?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have seeing Ezra and having the reunion with Sabine was really nice, was really great. I'm kind of conflicted about essentially Ezra, Sabine, and Ahsoka switching places again.
Yeah.
Whereas now, and don't get me wrong, I loved how Ezra saw Hera, and I love
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Ben, why was he wearing his stormtrooper helmet the entire way there?
Yeah, I know that was dumb. And it's like,
Why did they hug? Why did they hug? Like, I don't get it. A lot of people have said this, and I agree with them. I'm like, I don't understand. I like the emotion of that reunion should have been like, Hera's like a mom to Ezra.
100%.
It's weird that they didn't
That's
go
her
and hug
son.
each other. Yeah.
Part of me was actually kind of upset when he sees Hera, he doesn't say, "Hey, mom," because she is a mother figure to him.
Yeah. The chopper scene is cool, but again, like it's super silly. He's just like, I'm just gonna wear the stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, just take the helmet off, dude.
You've got two actors giving their best like emotional performances that they can, while also giving the direction like, but you have to stay standing where you are.
Again, that's the thing.
And
like,
it's like,
the direction is so flat in this entire episode for not just the action, just the blocking of it's a boring episode in terms of shot composition and everything, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. But what I was also thinking, what was I gonna say? Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that, about Ezra leaving, because it's like, great, we have to go get Sabine again. We have to do the whole thing over just to get him back into the, because I just don't know how I feel. I don't know if that was the right bit. And I do agree, it's flat. Like, yes, they're giving a big emotional performance, but I do agree they should have Hera should have just dropped everything and gave Ezra the biggest hug she could.
Well, I'll say, Ben, that I personally went into this pretty confident in the last few episodes that Thrawn was going to go back, and either none of our heroes, or at least not all, were going to go back. Someone was going to be left behind.
Absolutely.
I'm perfectly fine with it being Sabine and Ahsoka. I think there's going to be another way that they find to get home. I don't think it's that someone else is going to have to come and fetch them or that kind of thing.
It'll be some new.
There'll be some other way that they get back.
Yeah.
But
well, if they did fix the ship, so they could just go back up and be like, "Hey, Perkles, can you guys?"
That seems like, but this is where they come to die. They don't.
Yeah, true. True.
I don't know. It would seem a little lazy to me to just use Perkles again.
Yeah.
Where they are now.
Yeah, I feel like there's something else that they're going to uncover. And like, again, you've got Balin there with his whole connection to something. Like, I do think that's a worthwhile story to explore, Sabine and Ahsoka having to be there. It gives Thrawn this opportunity to kind of like, without some of the major players that know how dangerous he is and can put up against him, being on the board, Thrawn's able to take root in the main galaxy. I think that's really cool. I'm not surprised that they went for it.
Yeah.
It is one of those things where, like, I kind of don't want Ezra to necessarily be stuck there, but I'm like, I just don't know what the value is right now because we haven't seen what that story is going to be in Ezra being the person who gets away. And if it was worth not having a better execution on the stakes of this finale.
Yeah. And my question is for next season, now that we have characters left Perdia, right? We have so many storylines to follow now. We have Balin, we have Shin, we have Ahsoka and Sabine, we have Thrawn and Ezra, we have Hera and the Republic. That's all in one show. And that's a lot of storylines to follow for next season. They've spread all the characters apart so far. And again, all the pretty stuff, stuff will come together.
Well, I would argue that I wouldn't be surprised if
we get another show.
No, well, maybe, or at least like some of the Republic stuff now gets tied into the Mando.
That's fair. No, they will do that
because I think the Ahsoka show might actually just stay where Ahsoka is.
Ahsoka's not pretty a show.
Yeah. For at least a chunk of its time until they get back, because now all of our Republic heroes can tie in with like that Thrawn build-up stuff that's going on.
Now, question about Mandalorian season 4. At the end of Mando season 3, it looked like they're going back to a basics. It's Grogu and Mando doing Mandalorian stuff again, right? Is Mandalorian season 4 now going to be a Thrawn show? Because they have to build up to that movie that's coming out soon, right?
I think I'm gonna say it. I'll say it this way. I think that Thrawn will be behind things, even maybe indirectly, that are affecting the things that Mando's dealing with.
Now that he's back, the Empire is going to consolidate in some capacity.
Right.
So that is something for Mando and the New Republic to follow.
Well, and Carson's probably going to call him out for something. Yeah. He already said he was probably going to do that.
Okay, so that's a good point. Okay, so some of that story in here can get translated to Mando, so that alleviates some of the scare. Because you see what I mean? Like, there's like 7 storylines in one show to follow. Man, that's a lot of threads. You're gonna get like 5 minutes of character in these episodes. It feels like. That makes sense.
The other thing is also, to me, is that it's going to bother me, and I feel like it's possible if Ezra's going to be like, yeah, I'm not really sure where Thrawn went. And I'm like, he was with the Great Witches of Dathomir.
I'm going to be so,
good Lord, God. I wonder where he went. But the thing is, like, why wouldn't the Republic go deal with it right away? And you're going to have to make that argument.
That's the thing. You feel like...
Because even if it's not the entirety of New Republic forces, we know the position that Leia has in commanding their battle stances. You would think that, especially with her vote of confidence, Leia would at least send some people to Dathomir if they know that he's there.
You just need to send one scout troop to Dathomir. Like, oh my God, there's a ship with a hyperspace ring. We got, like, that's all it takes. And they're going to have to do some real heavy legwork to not make that the case.
For sure.
And that's a tricky pickle. Unless they use, like, dark force magic to make them invisible. Which is fine. That's cool. I don't care. Use force magic. How do you guys feel about Sabine being a Jedi?
Okay. I want to get into it directly this way, which is that I have zero problem with the lightsaber grab. I think in a moment of being under duress, and when it is, and that's the moment that calls out to her, 100% totally fine with it. That's a good moment to do a force thing. Throwing Ezra with the force and having the confidence that she could do it mere moments after that, not so good.
Okay.
Didn't like that.
I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Ben?
100%, because when Sabine, go back into Rebels. When Kanan says everyone has the ability to use the force, that's like, he's right. Because even when Qui-Gon, episode 1, the force is in all living things, and binds us, or Obi-Wan, it binds us, it keeps the galaxy together, and the force is in everything. Everyone can use the force. There's more people who are more sensitive because, reasons.
Yeah.
The lightsaber grab, mwah, chef's kiss, full circle. It was great. I was like, that is perfect. And Sabine realizes she just needs to hone it. The second she's like, I can push you, it's like, bitch, no, you can't.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
Do you guys remember, this is the exact thing I was talking about I didn't want to have happen. This entire show. This is what I was afraid of. I don't care that Sabine has the force. It's that she gets to level 100 immediately. That's the exact problem I have with it.
Yeah.
I don't care that she has the force.
And I wasn't afraid about it because I thought we were going to get exactly what I said, minus the throwing Ezra thing.
No,
because here's the thing. I really want to point this out because I think this is really cool. If you note, Sabine's journey with the force is exactly the same as Luke's.
Yeah.
Which is that the first thing that she does, that we see her force talent showing up, is that she communes with Ahsoka about where her location is, which is much the same as Obi-Wan communicating with Luke when he's going for the Death Star. What's the next thing Luke did with the Force that we saw on screen? It's that he grabbed a lightsaber. And that's exactly what Sabine did, was grab a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that those journeys feel mirrored.
We're making small progress.
Right. And the other thing was 100%, I wish that it had gone a different way in the sense that, like, I think you could even do the same thing and make a more interesting character choice where Ezra says, okay, you jump, I'm going to toss you, and then you're going to pull me with the Force. And Sabine doesn't have the confidence she can do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, Sabine, we got to do it now. And she's like, no, I don't think I can. And so Ezra just has to go for it and do the jump. And he makes the jump without the Force.
I would have been honestly okay with her trying it and failing. Like doing a little bit, but it not being enough. Because like it's just you just can't go from 0 to 100 like.
But then he dies.
No, I know, but like, you know what I mean. They can always figure something out. Just,
sure.
In the writing, but like,
yeah.
It's like I was so scared of this because like it's not like I don't hate Sabine. I love Sabine. I don't hate Jedi.
Yeah,
the Force is special and everyone can have it, but not everyone needs to be a super monster about it. This is like not everyone should be throwing like the Force Unleashed on their first day of training.
It's the confidence.
It's a confidence
that like I'm like that Sabine is the one throwing out this plan, and I'm like, I don't think she should. I don't think she should have this confidence. Again, like that's why I go back to like I think it would have been more interesting for Ezra to be trying to encourage her to go use the Force, and she's like, even though she just did that, she's like, I don't believe I can do that. I can't pull you, and so he has to just make the jump by himself.
And it's I do like the moment that she stays behind for Ahsoka. Like that's a nice.
Love
moment.
that.
Yeah,
love that.
I love all that. It's just like I wish there was a different way for Ezra to get on that ship. Because like again, I have no problem with Sabine becoming a Jedi. It's just like I don't need her to be brandishing level 5 Force abilities when she's level 1.
Yeah.
And again, it's the Force. Like this is all made up bullshit, and some people are totally fine with this, and I get that. But like when you give everyone Force powers like this, it makes it not special.
Mm-hmm.
And like being a Jedi, being a Force wielder, like everyone has a Force, but not everyone's a Jedi or a super. It's still special. You know, it's like you gotta like not earn it, but like. I don't know.
You have to spend time on it.
You have to spend time on it.
And like it's okay for like training. Again, like that's why like the lightsaber pull works for you, works for us.
Yeah.
Is because it's like this moment of duress, it's a very quick action. It's like there's something about the way that like the Force has been given to us.
Yeah.
Where it's like that feels like something that would be like the most immediately in her range.
Yes.
But the idea that she has this idea that she can push Ezra with the Force is like, I don't know, that feels it just is a step too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she grabs the lightsaber, because we talked about Luke, but also it reminded me of not to bring the sequel trilogy into this, but reminded me of Rey on Starkiller Base when she snatches the lightsaber.
Yeah,
and it's revealed that we know that she was strong on the Force the whole film, but when she takes the lightsaber away from Ren after his fight with Finn, it's like that's that hell yeah moment, you know. It's like I can use the Force now. I just need more training. I just need more practice with this because I'm able to do this one small little thing, which is grab the lightsaber. Her being able to push Ezra was like that. Yeah, like Ryan said, that is a level 5 thing you do. You just got to level 1. You maybe went to level 1 to level 2, or at least you just opened up the new skill tree at the very bare minimum.
Dave Filoni gave her cheat codes.
Yeah. Apparently gave her the cheat codes.
I love Death Troopers. They're really fun in Legends. There's a great Legends book where Han and Chewie are aboard a ship with zombies. I think it's great. Boy howdy, it's just so boring to watch. It's just on multiple viewings. Like I love a slow zombie, but like the choreography is boring as shit. They're slowly walking upstairs.
They're like mixed too. Like there's the slow moving ones. There's ones that have more hustle. And I don't know if that's supposed to be like some of them are alive.
I think I have seen people say some of them, not all of them died, but like it's hard to differentiate that when like you show a green glow and then it disappears. The coolest of the
green glow in their helmets looks really sick.
The coolest of those were the Death Troopers, which
the ones up top that they're fighting
Sabine and Ezra fought,
where the bottom of their jaws were revealed.
That was dope. I wish more fights were like that one. That one was okay.
I will say. The reveal that when the witches turn, like after Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine take out that battalion of stormtroopers, and then the witches do their thing, and you see the green eyes. It's like I was like, yes, and then it's like the rest of the moment is like, oh, okay, because you're right, because it was boring. Like their first reveal got me hyped, and then as the episode came on, it's like, are they like, what's going on here?
Again,
why is this so lame to watch?
The stakes aren't there because I know. Well, I don't expect my heroes to die, but I expect them to have some type of resistance. The zombies just like they get shot and they come back up, and I'm like, so we're just gonna do this for 20 minutes? Like what? Where's the fun here? Like after a while, I'm just like, no, I get it, guys. Y'all are slow and you break through doors. I get it.
Some positivity about this moment stuff because I don't disagree, but just like there's other things I want to highlight, and it is the music. really incredible music just in general across the show, but specifically there's a Danse Macabre esque violin sound when they're first bringing these troopers back to life. Which is really, really great. I think the score is just incredible for this, for the ending music for this finale episode is beautiful.
100%.
So really, really like that. I really appreciate that there's this bit where they're fighting back the troopers, and Ahsoka notices that Sabine can't really reflect the bolts back.
She's also just hit in the head too.
So she says, switch to your blasters.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, again, as like recognizing that her Force stuff just isn't there yet.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
It's pretty... It bummed me out that like we build up to this fight with Morgan, and I'm like, I couldn't care less about Morgan. Like, I just like, this means nothing to me because we haven't given her enough for it to mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Other than that, her and Ahsoka fought before. And she gets the blade of Mother Talzin, and I'm like, well, that's cool, but like...
So, again, like, that one is cool, but it ended up leads to nothing because, like, she gets taken out. But I do like Thrawn, and he's just a guy of, like, Morgan, we need more time. And she immediately knows what that means. And I like that moment because, like, Thrawn, no matter how close he is to like one of his people, he will sacrifice anyone to get to his goals. No matter how like cool he might seem, he will still sacrifice everybody and everything to get to his goals. Fun fact about Diane Lee in Sonatanto, she's related to Bruce Lee, and that's why she's such a good martial artist. That's really cool. I forgot to bring that up throughout the show, but yeah, she's a
I have no problem with Morgan going out like this and like being the sacrifice pawn for Thrawn and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just wish we got more of her character. Like, what is she dying for that she believes in?
Oh,
just a little bit more.
Dathomir.
Just a little bit more, obviously. But like what for her does she believe in so wholly? I do think like there's a lot of unanswered questions I think are fine to leave. Like, what are we doing? This is the beat where like we should have known what is Morgan's happiness and motivation out of getting those cargo coffins off of the planet. What is that specifically? Because that makes Morgan doing this mean something. Because it's what she's dying for.
And I would almost be okay with it if Morgan were a new character, but she's not. We've seen her before, and she's been building this up for years now at this point. So like, the fact that we don't know more about her years later is a problem. And being a cool sword lady can only do so much for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing that I caught, I don't know if you guys did, is that when Thrawn tells Morgan that he needs more time, and then she understands and essentially leaves her to die, there is a shot. It goes from Thrawn talking about how it's like for the Empire, but then there's like a shot over to the knights, to the great witches, the great mothers, and they kind of give Thrawn this like little side eye look. And I'm thinking, ooh, could this be the beginning of a thread where the witches turn on Thrawn because he sacrificed one of their own? Or like
I didn't read that.
I kind of get what you're getting at, Ben, because I saw it too, that they weren't thrilled about this choice from Thrawn. Morgan was not, in their eyes, meant to stay. And at least that was my read. And I do think it's important, to remember that like men aren't very valuable in the same way to the eyes of the Night Sisters.
They're using Thrawn.
And so 100% they're gonna reach an impasse with Thrawn at some point.
They're using each other until they won't be anymore. And because they're both bad guys, they're going to turn on each other eventually, I believe.
Everything up to this point, right? Like that Thrawn's been doing has cost him stuff. Like they've used their magic to revive his troopers, to do things like that. But this was the first time where it cost them someone they communicated with.
They just transformed her. They just turned her into a cool lady. And
they did it because they wanted to give her best shot, but they knew she was going to die. And like that sucks.
Yeah. Hey, they are like the weaves of fate. Maybe they knew this the whole time, and they were cool with it. I read that scene. I read that scene a little differently. I read it as when they were walking by, they're like, "Sorry, Morgan, you suck. It's time for us to leave. Thanks for helping us." Like they were using her just as much because she. I don't know, like if they said it's behind the scenes, but like she's not like a true Dathomirian. She's a lady. She's a normal looking lady.
Right.
So like I think they are even maybe like, thanks Morgan, but we don't need you. She's a foundling. Like, oh, thanks Morgan. Okay. You're not a true Night Sister. We actually don't need you anymore. Thanks for helping us. That's kind of how I read it. But like both like yours.
I do think there's a stink of like this was a cost that wasn't supposed to occur.
Sure.
Like they're accepting of it.
Yeah.
But like it's not it's not the way it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And there's something in there where, like, again, this just goes back to, I would have cared more about what Morgan's doing if I knew that greater good that the Death Sisters all want.
Yeah.
Greater good.
Greater good.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I could kind of see how that works out too.
Oh, I'm looking at the notes, and you're right. Yeah, because they upgrade her with her blade and everything before Thrawn makes that call. So yeah, they just brought her into the fold. So no, I don't think that they were.
Yeah,
they weren't happy about this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They just honored her, and now they have to leave her.
They just give her the blade of talisman. That's like,
that's a big deal. Yeah.
I love Thrawn's speech at the end. I think that is personally the most, like, I feel of Thrawn. Where, like, you know, I knew your plans because I knew your master, and you did your best, but you suck. Have a great day. Long live the Empire. I thought that was awesome. I love Lars. Yeah. It is so good that he's back as Thrawn.
Today, the victory is mine.
Yes, I love it. I'm so glad to have him back.
It's a shame we'll never meet. Perhaps now we never will.
Yeah, that's so good. Again, could you imagine? I hate rewriting stuff, but like they're running up the stairs as he's saying this speech, and the second they get up there, boom! I'm like, oh, that's so good.
Or maybe like the ship is just like too far away, and Thrawn's
as they're going up the stairs, and it's like, you know, they're making it up there, and he's saying like I knew how you would behave in this battle because I knew your master.
And she's like, what?
One has to wonder how different you two are. And she like holds for a moment. It's like, Ahsoka, we don't have time. And it's like, you have all the time in the world. Yeah. I'm already gone.
I've been so sick.
It's like, like I know this would be a Thrawn thing to do, but he's just like standing on that part of the Star Destroyer, like looking down, flipping him off as he bolts into hyperspace.
Yeah,
that's essentially what he's doing.
You want that punch of you already lost, and I just don't feel like the episode hits that the way it should have.
Yeah, because Ezra got off the ship, and that is a win for our heroes, in my opinion. You know, and again, I don't need my heroes to lose or anything, but like the point of this was like big Thrawn's big return, and like he does return, but like in like I feel like a small way. There's like 1,000 caskets on that ship. Those are a bunch of like dead knight sisters and brothers, right? They're about to resurrect a bunch of zombie people.
Yeah, they're about to do some crazy ass shit.
Oh, Ben, you didn't watch the Clone Wars, but you did play Jedi Fallen Order. So you know all about those crazy people resurrecting dudes. They hate dudes. They make them zombie men. I love it.
I thought the rush on the gate where the hellfire's coming down.
Oh yeah.
I thought that looked really good. That was a good sequence.
Absolutely, yeah. Howlers are so cool.
Hu Yang reveals when Ezra asks that Ahsoka left and because from training Sabine because she felt she was training for the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah.
Because of the Purge of Mandalore.
Yeah. I could have used more on that because it feels different than what they said before.
Right.
But that's, I guess, to explore later, I guess.
Or never.
Yeah, I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't.
What's the final shot of the show? It's Baylan, right?
It's Anakin.
Oh, it's Anakin. Oh, yeah.
Which I actually think is really sweet. To be honest with you, I think it's really nice. For me, it worked. I thought it was a really, really peaceful. I know there's a lot of like what's been going on, but as it built up, its moments of like, you know, really beautiful shot of Thrawn approaching Dathomir, which I thought was really good. And the Baylan and the Shin of it all, and then you have this moment with Ahsoka and Sabine, and Ahsoka seeing Anakin's Force ghost, just there on the planet, and like that the idea that he is now with her on the journey, even if we won't see him much, or we might again, but like even if we don't. Like this idea that his journey is now next to her in the Force.
I have a feeling that he somehow will be more involved because, again, going off the Mortis stuff, he has the scar, and the statue of the sun has a scar.
This is this is also why I kind of like it because, again, thematically, I'm saying like, you know, I don't know if Baylan's going to be connected to the father. I'm suspecting he might be because you've got the daughter and the son right there.
Yeah.
And we now have them in the same location, even if it's just through the Force.
Hey, Fortnite fans, you can get Ahsoka and the Morai owl as a little backplane in Fortnite. It's great. I got him.
Cool.
Playing him. Love it.
I need to do that, especially now that I beat Tears of the Kingdom. Yay! Going on the Anakin Force Ghost bit, I loved it. I will unapologetically say I loved it. I thought it worked great with the theme. I thought it people can. I can already see people complain about it. Oh, it's fan service. It's blah blah blah. It's like, no, it's much more than that. And it wasn't just seeing Hayden Christensen again as Anakin Skywalker. It was just seeing Anakin's Force Ghost with Ahsoka. And just like it reminded me a lot of that scene at the end of Return of the Jedi where it's like where Luke has Obi-Wan, he has Yoda, and he has Anakin. But Anakin's like, I am also really important to my apprentice. I am going to help her through whatever she needs to do. I'm with you, Ahsoka. To me, that was just like to me, that was just like it was a great moment. It was nothing flashy, nothing big. It was just Ahsoka looking out and the camera panning back and seeing Force Ghost Anakin and him just there smiling. I'm like, yes,
I like
am
that.
All for this.
I think, and again, I love Sabine so much. I think it's just like I don't need Sabine to also see that he's also there, because like now you're that's something you have to be in tune with the spirits like
and
that.
To be fair, she doesn't see him. She like sees
sparkles in
some kind of
image.
but
I love the Ahsoka part. The Ahsoka stuff I agree with. I think that's great. And again, I think I'm totally fine with Anakin being more involved because they stick around for a while once you're a spirit. Like Ben shows up all the time and stuff like that. So like I have no problems with that. So like I am so interested in all that more stuff. I really like, again, besides execution, I like all the story stuff basically that happens in this finale. And overall, despite sounding pretty negative, I really like the show. I do. I just think like there's maybe it's just one of those things where like I don't know if you always just need one writer for an entire show.
And I think part of the thing is that who knows, one way or another, it's not going to be this way going forward because it's no longer allowed to be.
WGA, baby!
Because of the WGA, as Brandon alluded to when you guys did your podcast discussion last week, a while ago, in context.
A year from now.
I remember now for when this is coming out because the Screen Actors Guild is still striking, so this episode isn't released until later. But at a point in a podcast when this was recorded, Brandon brought up that what was one of the Writers Guild strike contracts and everything was this kind of thing where it's not going to be a single writer and you need these other perspectives in the room. I think you guys talked about that really well. Kind of shows why Brandon's probably not in this discussion.
Yes.
And so Dave, but I think there is also, we don't know. And I'm not going to say that this gives any leeway to anything, but we don't know that this situation wasn't put on Dave Filoni instead of a choice.
Yeah.
And that he might have been forced to be the solo writer for this and not been given those either perspectives. It doesn't matter either way. When we come back for the next thing, he'll have a writer's room.
Yeah.
It's not going to be his choice. He either way. But I do wonder because like we have suffered from Jon Favreau too.
Yeah.
Having the solo writers too much on these last Star Wars projects. And so I'm hoping that this new change, regardless of if it's something that is giving them the freedom they didn't have before or is making it that freedom exist, is going to benefit them because you need people in the room to recognize these things that aren't quite lining up about the characters and the story you're wanting to tell.
Absolutely.
Right. And I do want to have. There's a few things I want to say about that. Then I'll probably dip out because I have to go get ready to record my D&D
show.
Of course. Sorry, guys.
You're fine.
But going on Dave Filoni, because there's two things about Dave Filoni that I really want to talk about. I saw a TikTok the other day about there's a few Star Wars creators, like content creators out there, who are essentially praising Dave Filoni, putting him on a pedestal, saying that he's saving Star Wars and yada yada yada. And there are other content creators saying that is getting way too like making him the idol is dangerous.
Sure.
And I 100% agree with that. Now, I'm not here to saying that Dave Filoni is saving Star Wars. I think he's doing great things with Star Wars. But as we talked about earlier, there are more nuggets of great storytelling that we can dig into, such as like the character progression between Thrawn and Ezra that we didn't necessarily get. And once again, I'm not bashing Filoni as a writer. I think he's a good writer. I think he has great ideas. And now that he is going to get a writer's room in the future, I think that is going to help Star Wars even more going forward.
Sure.
Because there's also a moment back in the Clone Wars where there's Sam Witwer was talking about, I don't know if he was in the writer's room but he was there for something. And Filoni was talking about he wanted to do a scene where Anakin is talking to the ghost of Shmi, his mom, saying like, yeah, I found a wife. And then and Sam raises his hands like, she met Padme already, episode 1. And then Dave just goes, shit, you're right. That moment of like, yeah, because I think Filoni has amazing ideas. And I do think that having a writer's room is going to help because then you can have, not to necessarily have fact checkers there, but also you can have people who will be like, okay, that's a good idea, but maybe let's work on this angle. And, you have more eyes and more open perspectives. So,
Well, and this is why I was saying, like, you know, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me entirely if we found out that this situation had been forced on Filoni. Only because, like, this is not how Filoni ran Rebels or Clone Wars. Filoni has very broad, big ideas, but he was not a solo writer on those shows.
No.
Like, he wrote episodes, but he was not the solo guy. And he has a very good big brain of the broad ideas and themes of what Star Wars needs to have.
Yes.
And minutia stuff, sometimes he has it. I'm not saying like he always misses. He can do some of the small stuff really, really well. But I don't think anybody should ever be burdened with having to have like all those broad theme ideas and do the minutia all by themselves all the time.
That is so funny, because you know who you're describing is George Lucas. Literally describing George Lucas with the prequels. No one should have that much power over one thing. You need eyes on everything, or else you get too narrow-minded on what you think is right. I 100% agree with that. And like, there's a lot, obviously, of Dave Filoni or George Lucas in Dave Filoni, not just in his writing, but also his directing. He's a very flat director. He's very stagnant. So I don't want him to direct a lot, if I'm being honest.
I will say that, and also to extrapolate on Sparks' point a little bit more, even with a franchise like Star Wars, because Star Wars has, let's be real, in over 40, almost 50, 50 years, almost 50 years now, Star Wars has become so much grander than anything else, grander than the Lord of the Rings, grander than all these other franchises that have been around for years. And with Star Wars, you do have to have more eyes on certain things. And I feel that I know I keep saying this over and over again, but the point being that when Filoni has good ideas, they are good. There's no debating that. But you can like refine it a little bit more. Like, I still think that with Thrawn and Ezra being on that planet alone for 10 years, there should have been more. There should have been more of a character, not maybe like a full-on character twist, but there should have been more at stake. Like, Thrawn should have, I felt like when Thrawn is first revealed in this show, he should have been more ragged. Like, he tried to keep his suit nice and clean. Like, it was way too clean for this is way too clean for me. Whereas Ezra, full beard, his hair grew out again. It's like, time has passed for this guy. Whereas when you look at Thrawn, he should be more ragged. His suit should have some stains on it that he just couldn't get out. But then you look at all of his stormtroopers, some of their armor is being held together by tape.
I can accept that Thrawn would have like one suit that he was keeping for like the day I get to go home kind of thing. But again, this is where the flashback stuff would come into play, where you saw like a longer haired Thrawn, something like the comic.
The book, the comic.
A Thrawn who's got like the bad outfit and in the dirt and all that kind of stuff. And it adds more to have that juxtaposed against, I've cleaned myself up for the trip.
He's had his tailored suit like in like a closet for 10 years.
Because what it tells you is that he like wants to present the idea of like, this hasn't affected me at all.
That's the thing.
And like, but if you see the flashback stuff, it's like, no, it has.
That's the depth that I wanted. Like, you think this 10 years has done anything? It hasn't. It actually has. It messed him up. And we don't see it yet.
It doesn't mean that stuff can't still be revealed. It just is a bummer that it didn't happen here.
Right.
And like, we might learn more about that. Who knows? But it is a bummer that it didn't happen here. I'm encouraged by the fact that we didn't have to. The main thing is, I'm just really glad Ahsoka did go the route of like, we are leaving things where we are going to follow them up in other stories, because we're not trying to tell this whole story in one season. Because I do think if they tried to do all this in 8 episodes, it would have really fallen flat. And I don't think it totally fell flat on its face. I think it stumbled, but I still think it got out of the gate a lot of good stuff.
Absolutely.
I will definitely say that watching Ahsoka and watching Rebels and watching Ahsoka as a one cohesive whole, it once again, just like what Rebels did, it reignited my love of Star Wars. I am glad how Ahsoka went from like very stoic to more like, okay, shit's like the Ahsoka I know of from the few episodes of Clone Wars I have watched. And I am really intrigued, and I'm really happy to see what moves forward. Of course, seeing Ezra again, Hera, all the Rebels crew back at it. It makes me excited to see where this is going next.
No Zeb.
He got name dropped.
He did get name dropped, but I am so looking forward to at the end of the show. It did make me go, oh, there could have been so much more. I don't want to wait. Now the finale was the final episode, not the best, 100%. I do agree with Ryan. Episode 7, mwah, amazing. Or even the episode with my two favorite episodes are episode 7 and the episode which I think is 3, where Ahsoka is in the realm between, in the worlds between.
Sure,
because those are fantastic episodes.
Episode,
I think that's 4.
That's 4.
Thank you. Episodes 4 and episode 7 are fantastic.
Hell yeah!
And I am excited for what comes next. I don't feel I was short.
That might be 5.
Either way, that episode and this one, they are. I am excited. I cannot wait to see what is down the road. I am not. This was so much more of a better ending, or at least a better. Even though it was a bit of a setup, but it still told a cohesive story. And I did not feel like I did the end of Mandalorian season 3, where I was like, "That's it."
Yeah, this
show got me. Was like, okay, we know the stakes are there. We know whatever's coming next is going to be big and bombastic. I am for it. I am 100% ready. Instead of me asking where they got to go next in a negative manner. I am excited. It's not like, once again, to bring the Mandalorian season 3 where it's Grogu. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing Grogu and Din Djarin just hanging out and being the father and son duo that they are. But I'm just like, you could have had more there.
No, yeah. Despite like, again, like having a lot of negative thoughts, like I still really like this show. And I'm excited for the future of it. I didn't really care for the ending so much, but like I'm still really enraptured with all the characters and the journey and like the things that they decided to do with the show. And the performances are incredible. Yeah. Like again, Ezra, that dude popped off that Rebels animated show. Like that dude's so good.
This is the most happy I am about live action Star Wars right now on TV.
Besides Andor, of course.
Since Mando season 1, removing Andor, which is
that's an HBO show. It doesn't even count.
Yeah,
I agree. Ahsoka is my favorite thing since Mando season 1. Like I really pop for it.
I feel that Andor is that one exception with live action Star Wars where it's just too damn good.
Dude, that movie that show's better than like most movies that come out. Like nothing's gonna beat Andor. I don't know if season 2 can beat it. If it does, like we have like the greatest show ever made.
I just love how a character that we weren't shitting on Andor before it came out, but it's like
we were. I
was 100% like, why are we making an Andor show?
I remember.
Yeah, it's like, why are you making this guy about who dies in Rogue One? And then we see then we watch the first episode. It's like, never mind, we're shut up.
No, yeah, thank you, Tony Gilroy. That's what happens when sometimes Star Wars fans, like people who don't need to be Star Wars fans, make something. It's like, damn. Ben, I know you have to go. Do you have any final thoughts before we actually wrap it up?
Final thoughts. It's worth the watch. Ahsoka, 100% worth the watch. I would highly recommend some knowledge. Now, I'm not saying it's required. If you have the time and you want to go through it, try to get through Rebels or at least watch some recaps on YouTube. It's worth it. Ahsoka.
Go ahead.
I mean, personally, I would say just watch the whole show. It's only 4 seasons. It's a very fun watch. Once again, as someone who's done it, it is truly spectacular. You'll get a lot more out of it. But Ahsoka, as it stands, I really enjoy the show. This is, of course, it's not better than Andor, but I will say I enjoyed Ahsoka a lot more than I have the past few seasons of The Mandalorian. And the show now has jumped up in my rankings of Star Wars shows, and it made me happy to be a Star Wars fan again. It made me really excited to go. When I went to Downtown Disney with my fiance last week, we went to the Star Wars store, and I saw the Ahsoka merch, and I just smiled because I'm like, Ahsoka's awesome. And I'm just glad that this character is getting a lot more recognition than she did when she was in the Clone Wars. And I'm glad that the Clone Wars show is getting a lot more eyes on it, hopefully. And it's just more people watching Star Wars and people loving Star Wars just makes me happy.
Yeah, it's nice when people are positive. Yeah.
Yes. And I would say that the show is a step in the right direction. Of course, we've had some criticism about it, but all in all, worth the watch. Highly recommend it. And it's just a good time. It is a good time. And that's pretty much it.
I will say that it's tough. I was talking with some other people who haven't watched Ahsoka, haven't watched Rebels, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, I don't know about Ahsoka and like that. And I'm like, I think you'd like it. But the thing is, like, I think you'd like it more if you watch Rebels. So I think you have to watch Rebels. And they're like, do I have to watch Ahsoka, though? And I'm like, well, if you want to give a shit about live action Star Wars for the next, like, 5 years, kind of.
It is kind of the double-edged sword where, like, we've made this animated character live action with baggage.
Like you don't have to watch it, but like probably live action Star Wars for the next 5 years, most of it's not going to be for you.
Yeah, that's a tough pickle, man, that I know people are struggling with, because people, again, we've talked about it in the past, but like people just don't want to watch animated shows, and that sucks. That is shitty, but I get it. But like, this is now Star Wars for the next like 5 years, y'all. You got to get on board.
Quick little side story. At work, there was this gentleman I knew who was working on the dock at my job, and he would bring a portable DVD player with him, and he was a huge Star Wars fan. Like he bought the Millennium Falcon, like the big giant Millennium Falcon set. Like he built it. Yeah, the big Lego set.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I wish.
And there would be times where I would come to work, and the last time I saw him, he must have been like well in his late 40s, early 50s, or maybe older than that. But he would be watching the Clone Wars. Like he would have his little DVD player up, and he would watch episodes of Clone Wars at work when he had downtime. Oh, and we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I'm really enjoying the show. And this is a 40s, 50-some-year-old man watching an animated show. And when I was talking to him about it, I wasn't thinking like, oh, why are you watching this kid's show, you old man? It was a little more like, so is Clone Wars really that good? And he was like, oh, yeah. It's like, because we would talk about Star Wars, and I would talk about how I would ask him where he was because I didn't want to spoil anything. And it was all very positive. And he was telling me about how watching Clone Wars made him love Star Wars more. That's why he went out and did all the Lego stuff. And just thinking about that, whereas if someone like him could be watching the show, like, yes, it's an animated show. Some people could say it was made for children, whatever. If he says this is good, it doesn't have to be good. Obviously, art is subjective. Everyone will have different things to say about it. But one of the takeaways that I will never forget is that he talked about how much he loved Ahsoka, and that he was hoping and praying for a live action Ahsoka, and now we have her.
I'll say, like, this felt like a Star Wars show. Like it felt like again, like weird to say because we've had Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, but like this is like what I want my Star Wars to feel like next to Andor. But like this, it felt like, you know, we're one with the Force, and we have lightsabers, but it's not the core of it, and we're exploring new worlds. Like that's what I like about Star Wars, and like the underdog story, and like that's what I felt like this had, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It felt true to what like Star Wars is, and again, Dave Filoni loves Star Wars more than anyone on the planet, so like good for him.
Yep, and now I really have to go.
Thanks,
but anyways,
man.
yeah, Ahsoka is amazing. I would highly recommend checking it. Definitely watch it. I am so glad I was able to do this with you guys. It has been a blast.
Where can I find you?
Yeah, Ben Magnet 27 everywhere, all social medias. That's how you can find me. And my friends, as I leave here, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, sir.
See you, Ben.
Bye, Ben.
Bye.
All right, we'll do wrap up stuff. So this is the end of our Fake Nerds Watch discussion on Ahsoka. A lot of positives, a lot of negatives, but overall, we're pretty happy. Looking forward to the direction of where things can go.
Oh, I've never even. I know the wolves are on either side of them, but I've kind of never really paid attention. I'm like, is that supposed to be Balin and Shin?
I don't think so. I think that's just also him still liking Norse mythology and interpreting that a different way. And then I don't think they're the same thing.
No, I know. I forgot that they were there.
Yeah,
like,
it's
no,
like the Loth Wolves.
Yeah.
All right, so you can check out whatever else is coming out on Fake Nerds Watch, Fake Nerds Cinephiles, Real Score, all that kind of stuff that's coming out around the time when this decides to release, because everything comes out in an order that we recorded it in.
Maybe Loki
after the Screen Actors Guild strike is over. Loki will be also on the docket right after this, so check that out. All that fun stuff. Meanwhile, you've hopefully been checking out all our basement arcades and our book clubs that have been going on. Those are all out there. So you can find everything at fakenerdpodcast.com. Follow the audio feeds, check out our YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff, like and subscribe. You can find me at Sparkz Witty on Instagram, Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. Ryan, where can I find you?
You can find me at DJ Tony Snark everywhere. Just being happy that I like a Star Wars show.
And that'll do it for now. So we'll catch you next time on Fake Nerds Watch.
May the Force be with you!